Okay, so we're on page 73B. You can see it at the top. Uh, Here we are, 73 Ayin Gimel B. Maseches Shabbos. And we were continuing in the Gemara that's going through the Mishnah, which discussed the 39 categories of malacha. So here's where we are. We're up to Hachoresh. Yikes. Okay. The Gemara says, Vehachoresh. And a person who plows. Plowing is one of the 39 categories. Says the Gemara. Tana. We learned in another source that it's also from the generation of the Tanaim, of the Mishnah, and therefore this is going to be in Hebrew. Hachoresh, v'hachofer, v'hachoretz, kulan malacha achashein. Digging, plowing, digging, and making a groove are all one category. So if a person did all three acts, he dug and he plowed and he made grooves in the ground, then he only brings one sacrifice because it's all one big mistake, one category that he didn't know was prohibited. Amrav Sheshis. Haisalogav Shushis, if there was a clump of earth, Venotla, and he removed it, Babayit Chayav Mishum Bone. If he did this act, if he removed a clump of earth from a earth floor in the house, Chayav Mishum Bone, he has violated the prohibition against building. Basade, but if he did the same act, he removed a clump of earth from the ground out in the field, Chayav Mishum Choresh, then it belongs to the category of plowing, not building. And a similar statement is the next statement. Amar Rava said, Haisalo Guma, if he had a hole, Vitamema, and he filled it up with earth, Babayit, if he did this in the house, Chayav Mishum Bona, then he is responsible for violating the prohibition against building. Basade, but if he did the same thing, he filled up a hole with earth out in the field, Mishum Choresh, then he has violated the prohibition against plowing. Because this was also, Rashi explains, this is a way of preparing the earth within the hole to be planted. So therefore it's like plowing. Amar Rabbi Abba, Hachofer Guma b'Shabbos ve'enu tzorich ela la'afra. If a person digs a hole on Shabbat, and he takes out the earth, but the reason he dug the hole was not because he wanted the hole, but only because he wanted the earth. Eino tzorich ela la'afra. He only needed the earth, potter. Then he has not violated a Torah prohibition because potter aleha, he is exempt from this act from bringing a sacrifice. This is not a Torah prohibition. Why did he want the earth? Rashi explains that he had gone to the bathroom and he wants to cover the excrement with some earth. So therefore he dug a little hole to get out the earth, and then he's going to sprinkle the earth on the excrement. So in that case, he has no interest in the hole itself or in the digging. He just wants some earth so he can cover up what he made. And therefore that's not a Torah prohibition. Va'afil Rabbi Yehuda, and even according to Rabbi Yehuda, the Amar, who said in someplace else, Malacha she'ena tzricha legufa chayav aleh. Even according to Rabbi Yehuda, who said that if you do an act and you don't perform it for the normal reason that the act should be performed, but you perform it for another reason, Rabbi Yehuda says that's still a Torah prohibition, but that's special. Hani milian, that's only if in the end of the day the act that you performed was metaken, if it was something constructive. But hai mekalkelhu. But here in this case, where this person wants the earth, the hole that he has dug is a destruction of the room. He has now put a hole in a nice, clean, flat floor. Now there's a hole there, so that's destroying, and that is not considered a Torah prohibition. What's the case of Rabbi Yehuda, where there's a discussion as to whether doing something for a different purpose is prohibited or not? There we're talking, the case that Rabbi Yehuda discusses is if there's a dead body in the house and you want to remove the body in order to get it out of the house. Normally, the prohibition for moving is because you want to move something and put it in a place that you want it to be. But with the dead body, you don't want it to be anywhere. You just want it out of the house. And therefore, it's not moving it out of the house is not the normal prohibition against moving something from indoors to outdoors. Nonetheless, Rabbi Yehuda says you're still obligated. That's still a Torah prohibition, even though your interest is to get the body out of the house rather than to place the body in a new place. But still, it's prohibited. But there, it's still a constructive act. When you move the body out of the house, you improve the house. Whereas in this case of the person who went to the bathroom and needs some dirt to cover up his excrement, the hole that he dug is clearly a bad thing for the house. So therefore, that's definitely not a Torah prohibition. Next line in the Mishnah was hakotzer. The next category of prohibition is cutting, reaping. And then we have again a statement from a Mishnah, from a contemporary Mishnah source, Tana. We learned in another source that's also from the Tanaic period, hakotzer, habotzer, hagoder, v'hamosig, v'haorek, kulan malacha achas. All these forms of cutting, whether it's cutting wheat, or botzer is cutting grapes, goder is cutting dates, mesik is cutting olives, ore is cutting figs, all of them kulan malacha achas. But even if you had a orchard with all these different kinds of fruits and you cut all of them down on Shabbos, if it was one mistake, even though they're different acts, it's all one mistake, and therefore you only bring one sacrifice. Amar Rav Papa, Haiman deshada pasala dikla. If a person throws a rock or a piece of earth at a palm tree, va'asar tamri, and the dates fall off the tree, chayav shnayim. He has to bring two sacrifices because he performed two prohibited acts here. Achas mishum tolesh. First of all, he has cut off the fruit, so that's cutting, reaping. Va'achas mishum mefarek, and in addition, he has performed another category of prohibition, which is mefarek. And Rashi explains mefarek has to do with threshing. Threshing is where you separate the wheat from the wheat kernel on the inside from the outer shell, and therefore he says that causing the dates to fall off the tree is also like removing something from a shell. Rashi explains that in this case, the dates have fallen off of their stem. So falling a fruit off of a stem is like fruit out of a shell, and therefore it's related. So therefore Rav Papa says you have violated two prohibitions, and you bring two sacrifices if you did it by mistake. And Rav Ashi says, Amar, ein derech tzlisha bakach, ve'ein derech prika bakach. Rav Ashi tells us a well-known rule, which is that something done on Shabbat with a shinui is not prohibited, at least by the Torah. So the Torah only prohibits performing an act in a normal way. But if you perform an act in a strange, abnormal way, then that's not the normal way to do the act, and therefore it's not prohibited. So in this case, if you throw a stone at a piece of fruit and cause the fruit to fall down, that's not the normal way of picking fruit, and therefore you're not chayav. Rav Papa said you're chayav two sacrifices. You did two violations. Rav Ashi said you may have done two things technically, but because you did them in a strange way with a stone rather than picking them by hand or with a tool, you are exempt. And that's the gemara that we did today. So we're up to Hama'amer for next week.